AITA for only speaking Gaeilge when I see my mother. So I 28 meters come from Bumtheap middle of nowhere in Ireland where Gaeilge is main language. We moved to England 10ish years ago but my family have always spoken in Gaeilge at home. Now my mum 52F has got a new fellow 45 meters and he's a bit of a tit and thinks being racist towards the Irish is just a bit of banter. So until COVID, I've avoided being around him because we usually end up fighting. But they're both high risk so I go over a few times a week to keep them stocked up. They give me the money for what I buy so it's not off my own back. When I do go over I refuse to speak English and it always sparks a fight between us all. Apparently I'm disrespecting him and his country for only speaking in my native language. AITA for not shifting on this? Welcome to /r/AmItheA asshole. Please view our voting guide here. And remember to use only one judgment in your comment. Op has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I speak English perfectly well and do speak mostly English in my own home. My wife is English so it's not that much of an issue to speak English when I go over to keep the peace. Help keep the sub engaging. Don't downvote assholes. Do upvote interesting posts. Click here for our rules and click here for our FAQ. I am a bot, and this action was performed automatically. Please contact the moderators of this subreddit if you have any questions or concerns. Normally I'd say you were TA for only speaking a language that they can't understand when there's a different common language. It does exclude them from the conversation. But, given his backstory, NTA, sounds like he deserves it. Maybe I'm a bit biased being Irish but it's dying language because of his country. I'm confused as to why Op's mother would put up with this behavior given she has put an effort into keeping my culture alive. He is a direct descendant of the English who married into our culture with a specific desire to destroy my culture. I'm sorry Op if I'm putting too much of my own ideals into your own life but this makes me so angry like very few other things can. Excellent points. I also wondered why the mother is bothering with him if he's this terrible. Hope she can see the red flags. Here, let me help her. Undefined. Happy Cake Day. Thank you. NTA. Stand your ground. If he wants to be a racist prick, you can talk Gaeilge as much as you want. Even more so, if it triggers him. Also, cool that you keep talking Gaeilge. There's too few native speakers of the language as is. I agree. NTA. Here's a kind of meandering story about speep attitudes toward Ireland and modern Britain. I'm an Irish American learning Gaeilge. When I was getting my master's in London, I went over to Dublin to see the parish where my mother's family lived. It was dope. I had been to other parts of Ireland before, but only the southwest, where my father's family is from. Dublin blew my mind. And the food was better than in London. No one believes me when I say that. When I came back to London, I went to a high school friend's house for a dinner party. She had also moved to London for graduate school. She was living with her boyfriend, who turned out to be, I don't know how else to put it, but like, aristocracy? Like, super posh accent. Money that I can't even comprehend. Went to either Oxford or Cambridge, cannot remember and do not care. During dinner, he started bashing Dublin. Like, with a fervor that blew my wig off. Calling it a speephole, etc. And he would not stop. He just kept going. And no one stopped him. His friends all seemed to defer to him. And then, not too much later, he started mocking a friend of his for his Indian heritage. Like, straight up racist jokes. The friend just kind of laughed it off in an embarrassed way. Again, really rich, because if there's any country that's been peeped over by Britain, yes, not England, Britain as much as Ireland, it's India. I felt like I had stepped through the looking glass. I wished I had spoken up, but I was just blindsided. I don't face people like that for being Irish in America, so I was unprepared. When everyone was chatting between dinner and dessert, I told my friend I wasn't feeling well and dipped. Anyway, the English suck, especially the rich ones. Please keep speaking the language if that's what your heart tells you. NTA. Dublin is such a lovely city. I've traveled a fair bit and it's remained one of my favorite places. I'm also friends with two Dubliners separately met in different countries who are two of the most wonderful people I know. Your friend's boyfriend sounds like an absolute pinecone. NTA. Ordinarily, someone speaking a language to exclude someone else would be an asshole. But if you're doing it because that someone is a bigot, they are the asshole, not you. You're intentionally excluding him when interacting with your mother. As is your right. Not an ah. Just be honest with yourself about it though. NTA. Like I'm Irish where speaking Irish is quite rare exactly because English people like him. He's less of an ass because he isn't killing up for it but is perpetuating hundreds of years of destroying a culture. Sure, it's a little different because they're in England, but it does his country no harm. Yeah, I'm in the north and have never had the opportunity to learn Irish. I'd love for my native language to not be English, although culturally it would be Ulster Scots instead of Irish. Damn. I can't take Ulster Scots seriously. Look up what learning disability is in Ulster Scots, lol. Oh man. Thank you for that. I can't stop laughing. NTA, he's the one disrespecting your mom and you by being a jerk about you speaking your own language in his exalted presence, especially when you're putting yourself out to do them a favor and protect them in current circumstances. That's your mom's heritage. And if he's that upset about being excluded, he could fix it by learning the language himself. That would be a wonderful gesture of love and respect. NTA. My grandma taught me Gaeilge as a kid and unfortunately no one else in my family stuck with it, so I lost a lot of it after she died. As someone else has pointed out, the language is dying because of his country, and I think it's awesome that you're keeping the culture alive. NTA. Ac is glass. NTA. Koinai orta NTA. I only spoke Gaeilge with my Oma, and only German with my Opa. When speaking to both I spoke in English. You don't have to speak in English if you're not addressing him. Plus, you're keeping a dying language alive. NTA. Leonarigi agus labhair Gaeilge le dúfthir, SDR. Oh man, he is a tit. NTA man, good luck with all that. NTA. History of imperialism and this guy's sense of entitlement trumps the slight rudeness of speaking a language that excludes others. You and your mom get to speak your language. NTA. Speaking Irish to your ma'am hardly counts as insulting a country. This is something you have a history of doing. And if anything, it's disrespectful of him to impede in something you both have always done. It probably doesn't help that I am petty as hell and would do the exact same in this situation. Tisul again go labrin tia land Gaeilge nuera bathe s timpal tsa agustumum. NTA. Why isn't he learning Gaeilge to communicate with your family if it's your first language? Gaeltacht communities are dying slowly. Good for you for keeping the language alive. I'm nowhere near fluent, and I wish I was because it's such an amazing part of our culture, but growing up in Dublin was not conducive to learning. Good for you Beha Changa Labhert. Sounds like because he's a racist asshole. NTA op. NTA, Lenort. NTA, Quimat and Changa Bayo. Nturai Steech. He's definitely a tit and your mother self-hates if she wants someone like him. It isn't uncommon, but you both deserve better than him. NTA. NTA. You know what's disrespectful? Telling someone they can't speak their native language to their own mother. Especially when it's a language so few people speak because of a certain country. NTA. Plenty of people come to the UK and continue to speak their native languages to each other. He already knows that. Maybe next time you go over, you can bring him a hanky for him to sob into. NTA. Let me guess. He voted leave. Bigoted people deserve nothing but contempt and a lack of regard. I was thinking he sounds like a gammon. NTA. As someone who is Irish and still has a CPL of Focale but no one to practice speaking his Gaeilge with, I really commend you for keeping our language alive. Our language is dying because of the attempts of the English to crush our culture over the centuries. Any English person asking you not speak it in the 21st century can sit their imperialist ass down. NTA. What a racist prick. Also, I'm Irish but born in the UK. I can't speak the language and I'm a bit jealous. I'd love to be able to do that. Related. My stepdad's just like this about my mom and dad, so I 100% get how peeping speepty it is. NTA. Non-white English person here. You could easily argue back that maybe respecting his country in this matter would have more merit if his country ceased their 900-year occupation of yours. Sounds like a stereotypical leave gammon who expects the colonies to know their place. Savor the Gaeilge. You were one of the last, and without families like you maintaining it, much as Scots Gaelic, it'll be written out of history. NTA isn't thin. TS to chart agat Gaeilge a labhert ladumum. NL afiosagam siebful t sen UK act pider gopful grupa Gaeilge in ace lead. Fac RTS anad high CPL a docafel agus labhert ladina ilias Gaeilge. I'm sorry. I'm just stuck on the fact that a Britisher is telling an Irish person that they're disrespecting his country. Someone doesn't know his history. Does he? Even if you were disrespecting Britain, which you aren't, you're literally speaking your language in your country. As a person from an colonized country, I'd say you were completely justified. This is the most hilariously dumb take I've seen. NTA. NTA It is due to the effin' English colonizing beyond their means that Gaeilge is dying and the North remains occupied. What's wrong with just speaking Gaeilge? It's just a bit of banter. Keep up the good fight, Akira. NTA. NTA. Did he vote leave by any chance? It'd be a shame if he was a fisherman who lost his job. NTA. I just tell him you're practicing. Gotta keep up your linguistic skills. He says to honor his language, but does he honor no? So you NTA tell him the day you respect my culture and language, that's when I will respect yours. NTA. Irish Gaelic is an extremely endangered language if I've been correctly informed. Hess the biggest asshole in existence if he tells you that speaking an endangered language is somehow disrespectful to him. WTF. Going to go against the grain here. ESH. Fact is that it's rude to purposely speak in another language when everyone is fluent in a common language. It's really that simple. His behavior doesn't really change that. You're either sharing things that are private, in which case it's rude to do it in front of him, or you're not, and there's no reason that you can't say it in English. This thread is given pretty ample reason why he is the so I don't feel the need to go over it. And I think you know that what you're doing is antagonizing him. Sure, he's a jerk, but you're purposely stoking the fires. This doesn't fix any of the issues you brought up, and just makes the situation more tense. If you have an issue with how he treats you, then you need to confront that directly, not passive-aggressively talk behind his back right to his face. Personally, if he couldn't show me the respect I deserve, and my mom is just gonna throw me under the bus for her hubby, then I'd stop helping them out. His is worse than yours, but yours isn't innocent. NTA. If it's not a conversation for him, he doesn't need to know. If he wants to know, he can learn. I knitted Oma 98 sweater every time you round. Responding to every bit of news with the old IRA woulda sorted that. Let's see how these young lads do. Passive-aggressive birthday and Christmas gifts such as the making of modern Ireland. Ta. Screw him, Hess English go Ireland. Is he a tan? NTA. NTA. In this circumstance it is justified. NTA. Anyone who tells you what language to speak is an NTA. Sorry, but the English not force a million Irish to leave Ireland. I'd be singing in Gaeilge if I could speak it. Lol. Irish Italian American, so I've had to hear about the evil Protestants/Church of England my whole life. NTA. Yeah, he's an asshole. NTA. I tried to learn on Duolingo but I failed miserably. I thought it was beautiful. 100% NTA. You should get your mom a small Bluetooth speaker and play IRA rebellion music over it when you visit. NTA. He sounds like a tit. NTA. You're keeping your language and culture alive and he's a prig. NTA. The English invaded and colonized the entire world beginning with Ireland. He has no right to be xenophobic when no one wanted the English to invade their land and force their customs, language, and religion onto whomever they decided to burden with their presence.